What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about 6 different Grayscale trusts in this video. We're going to go over LTCN and G-Sol for Paul O. Right after that, we're going to talk about BCHG for Real Jesus Shalom. We're going to talk about HSEN and GBAT for Mr. Ect. And finishing it all up with GXLM for Mr. Mark 1 B Fox. Let's get it, you guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Let's do it. Let's get into this. All right. So shout out to Ethan Gallstead. Thank you for all the love, man. Thank you for just time and time again always referring to my channel, man, throughout the years now. Crazy how much time it's been. Appreciate you. I really appreciate you a lot. Thank you to everybody who migrated over here, or maybe not even migrated, but you dip your toes in here from time to time, coming over from Ethan's channel. Thank you guys. But let's get started. Let's get into this. Okay, enough buttering the bread. 1343 is what we're at right now. If we take an overall all-time high to an all-time low fib retracement, not extension, sorry, fib retracement, you reached for your 618. Actually, let's go through the whole thing. You hit your 382. Found resistance there, came back to your 236, found support there, and went right up to your 618, a very common maneuver to make. However, you did fall short of your 618 area. Generally speaking, that's not a good sign. Generally speaking, whenever you see this 382, 236, 618 maneuver, you expect to find support either at the 0.5 or the 382 or somewhere in between. But the fact that you went below the 382, which is unconventional, might be due to the fact that you had this unconventional top, suggesting that there was a little bit less bullishness, a little more bearishness. Who knows why things actually happen the way they do, but that's just the story I'm painting, right? If we look at this low here, relative low to the relative high, you did go below your 382 here, but you are holding support at the 0.5, which is nice, right? You don't often find support at the 0.5, but when you do, you tend to get significant results. Although this doesn't look like too significant of a bounce, to be fair. It's not a perfect science, but I don't believe you're going to go lower. I do believe you're going to hold support here at previous areas of support. If we look on a horizontal basis from your closing price right here, you are finding support at the same closing areas back here. So I do like this as a support zone. I don't think that you're going to go lower than that. Let's just get that out of the way. I don't think LTCN is going to go lower. I do think it's only upside from here, but only upside from here doesn't mean it's just like this, right? It can take some time, right? Even on this phenomenal move that you had periods where you were not doing anything for 5 months, not doing anything for 5 months, right? Not doing anything for 2 months, right? So be patient. It will happen. By it, I mean the pump. It will happen. You just got to be patient, right? I love that you've moved down without really any significant volume at all. All the significant volume came on the pump here from a low to a high. Not that one. We already did that one. I'm sorry. Let's look at the weekly here. Weekly RSI looking fine, finding resistance on the 50 a little bit, but not moving down too much. I don't know. I guess you've moved down 13% this week. Let's see how far this goes, right? You've rejected this. Let's hopefully not get into the oversold zone. I wouldn't like to see anything that gets lower than this low, but again, based off the monthly time frame, I wouldn't expect that you go there. So I think that that's a safe assumption, but still something we definitely wouldn't want to see. We don't want to see this thing get oversold. Generally speaking, whenever you reject the 50, you do look to move down to the oversold zone. But this is actually a good example. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can remain productive and continue to find those higher lows. So hopefully that's what we do. Hopefully we're crowding the 50 and we're looking to break above it here soon. I think we are, from a high to a low here. Come on now. You've interacted with the 236, really disrespecting it, not showing a whole lot of respect. And the 236 for me, it does kind of set the bar. It sets the pace for what I'm expecting as far as respect goes on the fibs. You don't always respect it, and just because you don't respect it doesn't mean you can't find respect at other fib levels. But I am curious to see, like, if I was to call for you to move up to the 618, would you actually stop at the 61869, or would you disrespect it like you have with the 236? You know what I mean? Going forward, it might not be as easy to predict with this, just based off of this. But sometimes you do disrespect the 236, and you do respect things going forward. We'll see. 1343 right now. The technical next target area would be 1831. That is where your previous areas of support are, previous areas of resistance back here, and of course that is where your 382 is. It's very common on the first attempt to your 382 to go a little bit above it. So being that is at about 1831, I think calling for a move around $20 would be appropriate. Okay, does that happen this week? we only have 1 day left, so, or a couple days left, so probably not. Does it happen next week? Probably not. But over time, probably in November, I would think. I would bet first half of November. If not, definitely by the end of November. I would think that you're up here, if not higher, right? So that's the next thing to expect. I think you're going to move higher. That's really all I got to say. Daily RSI doesn't look the best, but it does look better than it does look worse, right? You're definitely more bullish than you are bearish. Higher lows, higher highs, rejecting areas that you don't want to reject, but you're finding support in areas that you want to find support. So it is neutral technically, but with a bullish outlook, I would say. And you've kind of got, on a daily perspective, you've got these higher lows with a kind of flat top. It's not perfect, but you can see what I'm going for here, right? It definitely looks bullish in nature. So with the way the price looks, with the way the RSI looks, and where you are, I would think that you are about to break out. It's just you might have a little bit more downside to go first. You're at 1343 now. Perhaps you move down to about 13 bucks, 12 bucks, hold support there, and then move up. You can take this low out and it's okay. I'd prefer that you don't take this low out or this low out personally. You can take this low out and it's fine. You can. It's okay. But of course, in an ideal situation, you wouldn't. You would just maintain these higher lows. So let's see how it goes. One way or another, a little bit of down and then a lot of up. You know, that where I was talking about it moving up to, which is about $18, $20 there, right? I don't think it's going to stop there. That might just be its next momentary stop, right? Just like you had a momentary stop here or a momentary stop here. I mean, this is on the way down, so maybe a momentary stop here. I don't think it stops there, right? I think that you're going to continue upwards to $88, $163. These are price targets that I would expect you to achieve by the end of the year, if not very early next year. So, and maybe even higher than that, man. It really does depend on the underlying asset with Litecoin. And I'm not entirely sure what Litecoin is going to look like by the end of the year, but I do have a little bit of an idea. I am expecting for Litecoin that we are above this whole accumulation phase that you've been in, this whole bull cycle. I would assume that we've broken out, right? I don't think Litecoin by the end of this year will be at the top of the move, the expected move from this range, which, by the way, would be based on fibs, 140 to 186, maybe as high as like 316. It's a really big range, but with this large phase of accumulation, man, when it breaks, like look at how you accumulated last time, right? Look at this accumulation phase right here. When you broke, it was just straight up. Like it didn't mess around. It didn't take much time for it to just move up. This is a weekly basis, right? So it didn't take much time to move. And actually, if we take this into consideration, you know, you take a high to a low here. Come on, high to low here. I mean, you went right up to your 1618, found support there, went all the way up to the 2272. You can't tell me that this isn't the right fib extension to take, because look at all the respect you're getting on that fib, man. It absolutely is. So just based off of that, which was a lot smaller of an accumulation phase, by the way, compared to what you have here, a lot more pent up aggression, you could genuinely see this thing rip right up to 186, if not 316. By the end of this move. Again, I'm not expecting that to be by the end of the year. I'm expecting that to be by the end of this move. This is Litecoin, not LTCN, okay? Just to keep things relative or relevant. Accurate, proper. I don't know. But what I am trying to say again is that I don't think you'll be up here by the end of the year. I accept you could be. But more so what I'm saying is that you're going to be broken out of this range by the end of the year. That's what I think. Okay, so if you're going to be above $112, right, the highest points that you've been in this entire bull market, I would assume you're going to be above this by the end of the year as well, right? And I think assuming targets around $90 to 162 by the end of the year definitely could be at play. If not, maybe these lower fib levels, these lower fib extensions could be more considered for the end of the year, and these higher ones could be considered in the beginning of next year. Because again, I want to be very clear when I'm talking about end of the year price targets, that is not end of the move price targets, right? The end of this move, I do believe this next move up will continue into next year. And obviously the whole move, the whole bull cycle, of course, is going to continue to next year, but that's not what I mean, right? I mean this next move. I bet this next move you find a top wherever it is, you know, somewhere in this zone probably. You pull back, and then to finish out the year, you have one more pump or something like that, right? I bet you have two more moves up. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Maybe it's not a straight line the whole time up. You move up a little bit, move down, move up, move down, right? But overall, just like kind of two significant moves is what I'm thinking at this moment. It could be more, it could be less, who knows? But all in all, to make it as clear and concise as I can be, Litecoin, LTCN, sorry, is going to move up in a short amount of time from 1343 all the way up to about 1831 to $20, somewhere in that range. We might consolidate for a little bit of time. I don't think it'll be as long as this, right? Do our thing and then continue to move up higher. By the end of the year, I would expect you're above this high here at $54. Likely around like $80 to $90 by the end of the year, maybe as high as like 113, and then pursuing higher prices going into next year. And that's really all I got to say about that. So I hope that made sense. Let's talk about G-Sol real quick. Hold on. All right, there we go. G-Sol. All right. Low to high, right there. Very tight consolidation, man. It's very strong, that's for sure. Let's look at Solana too. Solana. Oh, that's nice. Solana's been moving up, yeah. Solana's up today even, so you might get a nice little pop on G-Sol there. Makes me wonder, why are you down this week, G-Sol? Why'd you move down? What's going on? Is Solana going to get approved for an ETF? I don't think so, but just why is Solana looking like this and then G-Sol is not looking as frisky? I'm on a weekly basis. I mean, looking 2 weeks of green, G-Sol's got 2 weeks of red. What's going on here? It's got to play some catch up. So it is moving down right now. It could move lower. It's possible. We'll look at the shorter term RSI and stuff like that and other indicators. It could move down, but with Solana moving up like this, this thing is not going to move down too much if it moves lower. And when it does come time to move up in correspondence to Solana, this thing's it's gonna break out. It's probably gonna break out of this range, man. Like you're gonna move up to $600 really fast. You're at 387 right now. I guess it does depend on Solana, right? You're coming up to an area where you could find resistance up at this like 180, 190 zone. You could. And then if you move down while G-Sol itself is underperforming, that could entice it to move lower. But let's assume Solana doesn't do that. Let's assume, like the rest of crypto, we're on the brink of a breakout to the upside. This really could be that attempt, or maybe you find a little resistance here, you consolidate, and then you move up higher. But very soon, I do think Solana will move up. So G-Sol, if it moves down from a low to a high, I would think the lowest it would go, you're at 387.75 right now. The lowest it would go would be maybe like 325 to 370. It's a big range, but 325 to 370 could be your range. At this point in time, I'm not expecting that you actually go below 350. I wouldn't expect that personally. You might not even go below, like too much below 370. But if you do, don't be scared, right? You could go as low as like 325 and be okay, I think. So after that, there will be a swift retribution to the upside, and I really do mean it. I think you're going to move up very fast to $600 and beyond, right? 600 at least is what I'm thinking. It's going to be like your kind of initial first breakout move. It's going to be very fast, but you're going to continue onward to other prices after that. And just because I'm saying 600 is going to be the fast move doesn't mean you can't move to like 800 really fast. I'm just saying that as kind of like a safe assumption, I suppose. From this relative high here to this relative low, again, yeah, 664 is your first target, man. So above 600, right? That's your first target. And then 850 potentially. I'm not taking, some of you might, if you're aware of how to do fibs, you might be looking at this and be like, why didn't you take this high to this low? That's the actual high of the range. That's the actual low. I don't like that wick. It just seems kind of like a scam wick to me. It respects the price action to some degree. It depends, I guess, going forward, right? Are we going to respect this fib? Are we going to respect these extensions going forward? If we do, cool. That's awesome. They're higher extensions. $800 is the minimum expectation. But when in doubt, I think it's never bad to be a little bit more conservative, because then at least if it does exceed your expectations, you're pleasantly surprised, right? As long as you're not like planning to day trade and sell right here, right? But even then, right, probably just don't sell everything, just in case, right? But I don't know, 850 there, 800 was another target based off of this high to low, so definitely a lot going on with that 800 level one way or another. But time will tell which one we respect, and then we'll know better which fib, whether it's this high to low or this high to low. We'll know which one to kind of use as our playbook going forward. But that will take time. That will basically take time until we've got that breakout move. We don't really know. So until then, I'm going to use this minimum target 664, 850 maximum target, and of course I do expect you to go beyond that as well. But again, just thinking this initial breakout move would probably take you to the 735, 664 area very, very, very fast. And of course, I want to reiterate, just because I'm saying you would go here really, really fast doesn't mean you can't just, you could just straight up move all the way up to $850. You've been consolidating for a very long time, and what did you do to get into this consolidation phase? You blasted off through the moon, man. That's all you've done, G-Sol. So is it safe to assume that you could continue doing this on one of the most bullish charts in this bull market? I think so, so just be patient. The fact that it's moving down, again, these trusts are not tethered. Sorry. They're not tethered to these native cryptos, right? They're not tethered to it. Their NAV prices, but their market price is not. So you can see the native asset go up while this goes down. That's normal. Maybe it's not normal, I shouldn't say that, but it happens. It doesn't mean it's broken. It doesn't mean something's wrong with it. It doesn't mean you're going to go down while Solana goes up. No, it's just for whatever reason you're moving down. Soon enough you'll go up. I've said enough about this. I'm going to move on. G-Sol. BCHG is the next one. I don't know why I have to clear my throat so much, man. All the fires, all the smoke went away. We had a big fire in Wyoming. Well, I say we. I'm in Colorado, but we get a lot of the smoke here from that Wyoming fire. I think it's either doused or it's been maintained, or the smoke's going somewhere else because it's been nice. But I don't know why I'm so congested in my throat there. Low to high here, pulled all the way back down to your 382 perfectly. It's a very ideal situation you've got going on with BCHG. Again, time and time again, I feel like it's very obvious that my favorite Grayscale trust, if I had to choose one, I've said it so many times that I would get into BCHG. And I've also said, counter to that I don't believe it'll be the best performing one, one of the best performing ones. If I had to assume which would be the best performing one, it might be, G-Sol, right? Maybe not from here, but like overall, yeah, it could be G-Sol, HSEN, File G, GBAT, GXLM, any of those other, maybe the Mana one as well, the Mana Grayscale Trust. One of those like lower liquid ones that are more risky, right? But again, they're more risky. So if I was to buy one, I would take the less risky approach. I'd probably get the Bitcoin Cash one because I do expect a lot of great things from this. The chart looks very bullish. But again, just because I expect that, don't get upset if you put all your chips in BCHG and there's another Grayscale trust that outperforms it. I would expect that there is. There probably is. I just don't know which one that's going to be, and I'm very confident that this one's going to be a top performer anyway, so that's why I feel safe in that. Mainly because I also, Bitcoin Cash is my biggest hold as far as crypto goes. I've made that very abundantly transparent throughout my time as well. But 355 is where we are on Bitcoin Cash right now. 772 is where we are on BCHG. Found support on the 382 after a strong move, right? And I would call that a strong move, right? From a low point to a high point, you moved up 75x in the course of essentially 2 years, almost 2.5 years, basically. It's not like the most powerful move, especially for crypto, but for a stock, for a trust, I'd say that's pretty strong. Moving up like that, finding support on the 382, very, very, very bullish. Love seeing it. I very much do believe that you're going to see higher prices than this. From a high to a low, the target area that we're looking for at a minimum is 37.53, at a maximum 67.10, and of course you can continue higher than that as well. Just the primary targets to look at first, right? If we take this high to this low, you moved up pretty quickly once you broke out, right? Once you broke out of your retracement range, got into your extensions, you moved up pretty quickly, right above the 1414, just below the 1618. Pretty standard extension area. Pulled back to your 100 to 886, very common, and then you continued higher, right? You've actually respected this fib range. Like, look at the respect you've shown. Resistance here on the 2272, resistance there on the 2618, resistance to a T at the 3113, Very, very clean at the 200, 886 level, support on the 1618. This could be a good blueprint going forward as well, right? And you've got 4655, 5872. That's your 3618, 3886 area. If you take this high to this low here, and we go to our primary expected extension zones, which again is the 1272 to the 1618. This zone, look at that. Look at the 1414 literally encapsulates that 3618. This right here from the high to low, the first move we had just went just above that 1414. So, I mean, just more significance there at that $47 area. And again, just because there's significance here, that doesn't mean that you have to stop there, right? You didn't stop here. You just had a pause and then you continued, right? The train didn't stop. Everything it kept going. It just, or I don't know how to use this metaphor properly. It had a stop, sure. It took a rest for a second, but the party didn't stop really until here. This was our stop. This point here. And I know that there's so many lines on here. It's probably giving some people a headache, especially anybody that really has poor vision, maybe. So I'll get rid of all these lines, but it is interesting to me at least how. Come on now. How well respected this little high to low is here. And for anybody, I'm going to take a moment here. I've done this before on this specific fib extension. I know I have. But for anybody who's trying to use fibs, maybe I should include this on my next fib video. Because I really do think this is such, whenever you're looking for extensions, this is a very like good rule of thumb to carry with you, right? It's that last little move. That last, like you've got this whole move down, right? And of course you can measure from your high to your low. Of course you can do that. You got your retracements all the way through, which you have been respecting, of course, and expect your extensions up here. Of course you can do that. That I think is given, high to low, very easy stuff to do, and probably very likely to be respected, right? All the way through. But the kind of less common thing to do, and something that I do, I feel like I do it every time, but maybe I just don't point it out, is you take that last little high to low move, and I'm taking it from here. I feel like this could be taken into consideration as well. And look at that, you're even respecting the 618 there, tipped the 1272, went right up to, I mean, you are showing respect across multiple fibs, and of course that happens, that always happens. So however you want to take it, whether it's this high or to this low, or this high to this low, this is just the one that I'm taking. But that last little, I call it the spring that sprung you. That's how I've always said. It's like this winds you up, right? You've got the whole move down, but it's this part that's winding you up the tightest that it can be, and then boom, you spring. I don't know. That's just how I think of it. That's not like again, it's not a science. That's not like real. I'm painting a story here of how I think of it, right? It's this last little compartment of just like moving down. You measure that high to low, and that does tend to give you a good roadmap for that move that's coming up, okay? And again, specifically, not just any high to low, not just any high to low along the way down. It's specifically that last high to low, that very last one before the trend changes, tends to be very significant. And again, high to low here, to me, that's the one I would take. But either way, you're going to get respect. Didn't respect the 1414 or the 1618 here so much. From this high to low, you respected that 1272 very well, right? And the 618 here very well. But here you respected the 100 well, you hit the 200, 886 area well, you respected the 1618 there. Like, you've got respect going through as well. I don't know. I just took the moment really to try and show you guys how I identify certain ranges to base fib extensions off of. I don't know if it helps. I know what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying it in the words that come to my head. I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, I'll hopefully have time to restructure my thoughts and make a better fib video on it for anybody that's trying to learn fibs. But anyways, back to the task at hand here. Yeah, BCHG moving up. Nice week last week, 50% up, above average volume. Definitely looks like a breakout week. We didn't continue this week, and that's not necessarily ideal, but it's okay. Sometimes you do, you break out, and right when you break out, you pull back to your previous areas of resistance to confirm support, right? You break, you pull back, and then you get going. So also finding resistance at your 382, pulling back to your 236 is a very common thing to do. Very common thing to do. I would almost always expect it, but given that we have this price action here, given that we have areas of resistance that are above the 236 right back here, I would say that this might be one of those occasions where you don't pull back to the 236, you consolidate around the 382, and that's very bullish indeed, guys. That's actually really bullish, because oftentimes when you do these more bullish things, it can lead to more bullish things preceding it, right? Generally, I would expect you find resistance at the 382, pull back to the 236, then you move up to the 61869. But with a movement like this, with a consolidation like this, you really could just tear all the way up to your 786. You might bypass $12, $14, and just move straight up to $17, maybe even higher, right? I wouldn't think that you bypass this. I would think that if you went up that high, if you just that would be crazy, but it could happen. It does happen in situations like this, if it were to happen at all. I wouldn't think that you bypass the 886. I do think that once you move up, somewhere in this range, you're going to consolidate afterwards as well, but then inevitably continue moving higher. So all that to say, you're at 772 now. If you were to move down at all from here, I think it would be very insignificant. I really do think that you would hold that $7.20 area, if not at least like $7 itself. You'd hold that line and then continue moving up. The next target area that I would expect at a minimum would be 1250, at a maximum 1963. And then from there, we consolidate again, and then we're looking to move up higher. Again, there's a lot of significance going on with this $47 area. So that's that for BCHG. I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. Daily RSI looks good. Weekly RSI looks great. I love it whenever you get overbought and you don't get oversold and you get back above the 50, man. I love it. I really do love it a lot. Like, relatively speaking, you look at this thing for what it is. You lived above the 50 for so long, and then here it might seem like you've been in this downtrend for BCHG for so long, but really you did not live below the 50 long at all compared to how long you lived above it. You didn't even get oversold. Overall, things are bullish. You look at the chart, overall, things are bullish. Of course they are, right? You're like near parabolic almost. You would have had a parabolic move if this low didn't go as low as it did, but still, man, it's very, very bullish conditions. Absolutely, I expect you to have new highs relative to this. Maybe as early as November, probably by the end of the year, I would expect that you're above that high. You might even be at new all-time highs by the end of the year, if not certainly by the end of this next move. So BCHG looking great. You're at 772. If you wait it out and you execute it properly, you might be able to sell at prices that are well above $200, right? I do believe that you're going to see those prices by the end of the cycle, right? We take this high to this low here. You've got 250 as the minimum expected target. Again, we had this for like a year and a half or so. We were talking about this. I never really took it into heavy consideration. There were times where I did, here or there, but for the most part, it's always been the kind of like out there hope. But I've started to really get away from that. I really don't think you're going to see these prices. I accept that you could. Again, I wouldn't bet against it happening, but I would more expect something personally. If I had to bet, like if I had to bet, my life depended on it, and I had to bet where I think the price is going, I would, the range that I would give would be like $500 to probably like $800, something in that range, right? You take this high to this low here, right? You've got that 3113 right there at 826. You've respected the 3113 on other fib levels as well. This is a very significant high to low. That, to me, it might not look significant to most people, but to me, that's a very significant high to low there. And this high to low right here, you did find significance at the 3113. That's like literally, oh wait, what the heck? Oh, I didn't get the low. I was like, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. 3113, you literally tipped it right there, right? So again, I would expect personally at a minimum 250, but if I had to bet my life on it, I would say somewhere between 500 and 826 sounds about right to me. But time will tell, right? We're at 772 now. Those are nice aspirations. Those are good goals to have, and I think that we will achieve those goals. But those are end of the cycle goals, right? Let's keep our composure. Let's be patient. That's the dream we're chasing. For now, what we're chasing are prices above. I mean, really, what we want to do is we want to get above $32. But in the more immediate stuff, we want to get above what target here? High to low. You want to get above 1250. Yeah, that's what you want to do, and that makes sense. 1250. That's like your last kind of significant discernible high there. So do that, and things will be good. Anyways, that's BCHG. Let's talk about HSEN. HSEN here. Oh man, HSEN. One of the better. This is one that could do really well as well. I think it could definitely outperform Bitcoin Cash. Has it outperformed Bitcoin Cash already? Low to high. No, it hasn't, but I really do think it could. Just because I think Zen itself could outperform Bitcoin Cash as well. If we look at Zen, It could, just because it could doesn't mean it will, right? I have Bitcoin Cash is my biggest holding, guys. Okay, just to show you where my head's at. But 119 million versus Bitcoin Cash, which is at what? I don't even remember the market cap right now. 7 billion. You can't tell me that this thing doesn't have more potential to grow. It definitely could explode at any given point in time. And if Zen explodes at any given time, HZen is going to follow suit with that, right? Zen USD here. higher lows throughout, right? A lot of cryptos. Sorry, guys, I'm having a hard time breathing. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's just sometimes I have a hard time breathing, right? Problems of being an asthmatic. You guys, I was never, and a lot of you probably already know, but I was never an asthmatic, or maybe I always was, I don't know. But I got diagnosed with asthma, like, as an adult a couple months ago. It sucks, man. It really sucks. But I've learned how to handle it, but sometimes I run out of breath. But anyways, let's get back to talking about things. 769 right now. Higher lows here, which is nice, right? A lot of cryptos have been finding lower lows around this point in the cycle, and that has been very concerning for a lot of cryptos. But this one still finding higher lows. It's not the most bullish chart in the space right now, but I think it still has a big chance to not only move up from here, but see new all-time highs. Like overall, the chart itself is in a pretty good posturing upwards. So I think it does move up higher, and I think it does see new all-time highs. And again, HZen has done this. It did this 30x, right? Bitcoin Cash, BCHG. Let me just get this. Hold on. We're gonna pull up BCHG here real quick, and then BCH, because BCHG had like twice the move that HZen did, right? But this is what Bitcoin Cash has looked like all cycle, right? It's got some pretty powerful moves. This is what Zen's looked like all cycle, just a tease. And yet HZen had a very nice, very good move up with very nice structure on the consolidation down. When it's time to move up, when it's time to do this, what you've done in the past, when it's time to move up to this new high, you're going to see this thing take off like hard. I really do. I mean it. HZen this could be like the best performing Grayscale trust. And I say that could being the key word because you never know. And it doesn't mean you put all your money in here. It doesn't mean you blindly sell your house, sell your car, sell your grandma's jewelry, and then put it all in here. No, that's not what you do. When you hear something has the potential to gain the most, you actually want to put less money in it. Because if it's got the potential to gain a lot, that means you could turn a little into a lot of money. Why risk a lot of money when you could make a lot of money with a little bit of money? It's good risk management tactics. Do whatever you want. It's at 420. All the stoners are going to buy here, so do whatever you want. But I don't think it's wise ever to just throw all your eggs in one basket, or even like 50% of your eggs in one basket necessarily. There's exceptions to that, but I'm getting away from the point. All I'm trying to say is I do think this one has the potential to be like one of, if not the top Grayscale trust in overall performance. It does, or maybe not overall performance, but from here on out through the rest of the cycle. And I definitely do believe it'll outperform Bitcoin Cash, BCHG, for the rest of the cycle. But just because I think that doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? But you're at 420 now. Let's actually get to the TA. Who cares about my opinions? High to low. 16, 27. Those are your next target areas. I do like that $16 zone. That is like right where that tip on this wick comes in. I want to look at this high here to this. Nope, that was not the high. It's not the high. High there. I get out of breath because I talk so much. Without breathing. 382 resistance, 236 support, all the way up to your 618. See, this is like the opposite LTCN, right? This was a overly bullish thing. Still had a pretty normal retracement. I would very much expect that you don't stop here. Your next movement up is probably going to be about 18 to 20 bucks. You're at 420 now, so when it comes time to crack this egg, and based off of what you're doing, to me, it looks like it's going to happen soon. You're going to have a very abrupt movement, right? You're going to see like this happen very soon, I think. I don't think it's going to be like this, like crawling your way up to $18, $20. I think it's going to be a breakout, and then you consolidate a little bit, and then you break out some more. That's what I think. Because I think when this thing gets going, this thing's really going to get going. There was something that I wanted to say before I moved on. I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was important too, man. Oh yeah, not that important, but I think it's important for anyone who's an aspiring technical analyst, maybe to just observe these things and notice these things. And you might not have noticed it, but I'm going to point it out. That way you do notice it. And I think I've said this before too, for this one specifically. Right, you've got this downtrend. Obviously, I mean, if I took a perfectly straight line, obviously this is great because from all these highs, you've broken out of that already. Okay, that's nice, but still, you do have lower highs technically. But what's encouraging, an obvious way to tell that this move here is not going to result in a lower low as all of these did. What's very obvious that this is going to probably be your breakout attempt right now of this downward trend is that each time, right, from this high, from the very first high, rejected immediately. Next high, rejected immediately. Next high, rejected immediately. Next high, you haven't rejected it immediately, have you? And I say that this week we're down 11%, and last week you were up, about 13%. So you have rejected that zone technically. If this were to continue down, that could look bad. But even then, like you've been consolidating in this zone. You didn't just have a straight run up and then a straight run down. You had a straight run up and you've been consolidating and creeping your way high. It's different, is all I'm trying to say. And different. What do I normally say? Different results, different behavior begets different results, right? I think you're behaving differently. I think that means you're going to see different results than what you've seen recently, all lining up to the same stuff, right? You're likely about to break out, and it's going to be phenomenal. I think in a very short amount of time, you're going to see this thing above its recent highs. I genuinely think this thing could be at $18, $20 by the end of the year. It's at $4.20. If not by the end of the year, certainly I think like by the end of this move. But again, I'm just expecting big things out of Zen whenever it does break out, which would translate into HZen. So that's all I got to say for that. So let's move on to GBAT here. GBAT. Nope, not USD. I do that sometimes. BAT. We talked about this one, Misdirect. We talked about it the other day, but I'm going to talk about it for you again. I think, actually, Misdirect, I think you requested this like weeks before I made my GBAT video. And I just threw this request on there because I feel bad that I made you wait so long. So here we are talking about them. It's good to check in on them. I don't know, throw a couple more Grayscale trusts in there for funsies, right? Monthly time frame, not a whole lot of excitement. Still though, right? Like looking at the monthly time frame here, found your low in January 23. I mean, here you were, January 23, right? January 23, you're basically there now, and yet you're way higher up. So I mean, this thing's bullish, I think, man. I definitely the same kind of thought for BAT, for GBAT, for LTCN, for HZen. It all kind of stems the same kind of thought, right? Which is that if you've been boring this whole time, and this is what you have to show for yourself. That's not what I meant to draw. Different charts had a different indicator or a different tool pulled up. If that's what you've got to show while you've been boring, I'm really excited to see what GBAT does whenever BAT breaks out. And I do think BAT will break out. I don't think this is one of those charts, again, a lot of charts kind of look like this, but this one has a lower low. Most of the charts that have a lower low, I have forsaken. I have thought that they're probably not going to see new all-time highs. But BAT, I think, is a little bit different. I think it can stand to see new all-time highs. After all, last cycle, you were finding lower lows like well into the cycle, right? At March 2020 there in the COVID crash, you were finding lower lows still, while Bitcoin was already finding higher lows and higher highs. And then you still had a pretty nice rally. Granted, this was before the halving, whereas this is after the halving. That's not as ideal. I still think BAT itself can move up a lot in a very short amount of time. Even if BAT doesn't see new all-time highs itself, the same logic still translates for GBAT, right? You've been accumulating for a long time. When this thing moves up, if you've seen this movement while you've been accumulating, you've got a lot more ahead of you for GBAT. Okay, that's my thought. Is it going to be right? I hope so. Maybe not. I don't know. Time will tell. But it just, to me, that makes sense. I feel like it's logical thinking, right? If in your boring phase, if you're literally right now at the same price as you were back in January 23, basically, which was at your low points here, and you moved up that much while just basically doing nothing but being boring. What happens, even if you don't see new all-time highs, what happens when you actually do something? If this is what you did when you did nothing, you're going to be off the charts, right? You're at $5 now. Things could get really crazy with this thing. Really, really, really crazy. You're going to see that premium rise, probably. From a high to a low, I would expect your next move would take you up to $60, $135, maybe higher than that, maybe not. Time will tell. It's a very new chart, not the easiest to dissect or decipher, but time will definitely tell. If you look at the weekly time frame, weekly RSI, getting overbought, not getting oversold. I don't like how you're living below this 50 right now. I don't like how you're below the 40 either. I really don't like that. This look to me would mean that you're getting oversold, which would then imply that this would probably either see some kind of double bottom or even like a lower low. That's not necessarily ideal. But again, as long as BAT's fine, which I think it will be fine, GBAT, whatever downside it has, the upside's going to be magnitudes higher. You're at $5 now. Weekly RSI is not looking the best. Daily RSI also not looking the best. More bullish than bearish, recently speaking. You do have a lower low there. You've got lower lows there as well. So it really does depend. I'd like to see you hold this area. I wouldn't like to see you go too much lower. But if you do, I guess that's kind of what the charts are calling for. Tipping the 618. Low liquidity. Low liquidity. Things might not be as precise. I'm going to call for it. I think you do move lower. You're at $5 now. I think you move down to around $4, maybe just below it, okay? Very swift, very quick, and then from there we can talk about you moving up. And I do think you're going to move up. It's just, immediately speaking, I think you do move down. That's my genuine thoughts, right? And the movement down probably happens fast. You might complete it by the end of this month, if not early next month. I don't think it's going to take a whole lot of time to complete. And then as early as next month, I would expect you to start turning this boat around to the upside. And then certainly by the end of the year, I think you'll be up higher. But that's GBAT. Let's talk about GXLM and get on with this GXLM there. $16. All right. Low here, high there. Right down to your golden ratio, bro. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Love to see it. You got like a kind of double top. You got a kind of double bottom going on. You're finding support at your golden ratio, which also, I think, yeah, perfect. Take away the fib. Finding support right at previous areas of resistance and previous areas of support. Technically, even right here would be considered previous areas of support that you're finding support at now. So nice, really nice. Looks good. Let's look at the weekly RSI. You want me to go over XLM too, don't you, Mr. Mark? Let's see. Oof. 9.5 cents now. Same kind of logic with all these, right? Like if this is what you've done, and GXLM, I'll give it, has been a little bit more boring in respects to some of these trusts, but more boring, and it's still done pretty damn well. It's a nice pump. I mean, 1 week you pumped 329%. I think you've got stuff like that coming ahead. Maybe not a week that pumps like that, but weeks that do that. I think that you do have more upside ahead. I definitely do believe this thing will see new all-time highs. I would believe almost every Grayscale trust, if not every Grayscale trust, sees new all-time highs by the end of this cycle. Ooh, that was a good one. Not so much on that side. That one didn't really work as much. But if that's what you've done, you did 307% gain, while XLM itself, I guess, did a 35% gain in a week. Right? If this is what you've done while XLM has been boring, I can't wait to see what you do whenever XLM breaks out, right? You're gonna skyrocket. You're gonna see some phenomenal stuff take place. I do expect XLM sees new all-time highs this cycle. Okay, I very much do. It's at 9 cents now. I would think if we take the high to low of the range here, high to low, I would think the minimum target would be 246, if not as high as 846, right? That's your kind of given range. You could go higher, of course, but I think this is a fine range to expect for XLM. You're at 9.5 cents now, 246 to 846. That's better returns than what I'm expecting for Doge, man. I don't think Doge is going to go as high as 846, and Doge isn't at 9.5 cents right now, right? The minimum target I have for Doge is basically the same minimum target I have here. If you're looking to buy Doge, you should really just buy Stellar Lumens, honestly. It's not as fun. It's not a meme coin, but you can cry about it with your gains, I guess. Yeah, it looks like it wants to do a lot, right? I definitely would expect that this thing, whenever XLM breaks out, that we'd probably see GXLM break out as well. I want to do a little bit more in-depth analysis here for XLM because that's Mark requested it specifically. I've kind of gone over the native assets for all of them, but Mark requested this XLM analysis specifically, so I'm going to be a little bit more in-depth with it as well, right? Volume's dying off. You're in a consolidation phase. Generally speaking, as your volume dies off and you're maturing through this consolidation phase, you are coming to an end. So it makes sense that you're going to break out one way or another very, very soon. I would think that it is to the upside. Your next move, when you do break out, look at how symmetrical that looks, man. It's like such a perfectly looking symmetrical triangle right there. Next move, I don't know, let's take a high to low here. There we go. Probably up to about 12.5 cents, 14.5 cents, somewhere around there. And that makes sense. I really do like that that golden extension around 14.5 cents because it's around these areas of resistance back here as well. So something like that, maybe 13 cents, 14 cents, 15 cents. You're at 9.5 cents now. So soon you're going to break out of this symmetrical triangle, if it is or it isn't, whatever you want to call it, consolidation phase. Soon you're going to break out, and I think it'll be a nice move up there. That'll probably translate into XLM, GXLM as well. Getting overbought, not getting oversold is a good thing, right? Double bottom, finding support at previous areas of resistance and previous areas of support, all good things. You take your high here to your low, which I very confidently assume that that's your low. If you go lower than that, it'd be barely, but I'm pretty confident you don't go below that. You're finding resistance at your 236, rejecting this week so far. Maybe what you do is you move down to your 069. You could move down to about $14. I don't know though, man. Let me look at this real quick. Hold on. Weekly up green. Weekly up green. Okay, yeah. I would think XLM looks like it wants to move up, man. XLM looks like it wants to move up from here, like right now. And obviously it's in this pattern. I think it's going to break out, but I just mean from here, I don't think you're going down. I think you're going up, which makes me think GXLM might not go down. Based off the fibs, I was about to call for move down to around 14 bucks, but maybe tomorrow, maybe going into next week, you do just start moving up. You probably find resistance at $25, $24, that area. Let's say 24 actually, 24, at 24, 25. You probably find resistance there, and then you continue moving up to 35, 36, $40, something like that afterwards. And when you finally break through $56, let's say $57, it's on to $100, $200, beyond that, because when you're breaking this, right, whenever you're breaking out of this, XLM is going to be looking like it wants to break out of this. And when XLM breaks out of this, this thing's going to fly, guys. It's going to, like, 200 ain't going to stop it, right? 600 might not even stop it. Like, you're going to go far. Again, these last three, GBAT, HSEN, GXLM, any and all of them have a decent chance of outperforming LTCN, GSOL, and BCHG for the rest of this cycle. They genuinely do. There's also the chance that maybe they don't, that they don't. But I genuinely, HSEN, GBAT, and GXLM, it wouldn't surprise me if all three of them outperformed LTCN and BCHG. But again, when you hear that, you don't throw the farm at it. You don't bet everything. I know it's kind of counterintuitive. I think this one's going to do the best. Why wouldn't I sell my life savings for this thing? Because it's oftentimes the ones that you think will do the best that do the worst, and it's the ones that you think will do the worst that do the best. So do a little psychological warfare with yourself, okay? But come out on the winning end of it. As much as you want to put in this, put a little bit in, because a little bit could turn into a lot of money. So if it could, why put a lot of money into it? It could just as easily, not be anything what I'm expecting it to be. Still decent gains. I definitely expect this to see new all-time highs. I would expect all of them do. You just never know the future, right? And things like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, they're a little bit, they've been around longer. They've proven themselves. I feel safer in those. I would even say XLM, GXLM2, probably a safer bet, honestly, just because XLM itself is, I would equate it to like Litecoin in its chart, right? It's been around for a while. It's been around maybe not as long as Litecoin, Maybe as long as Litecoin. I think Litecoin, did it come out in 2010 or 2013? I can't remember. But whatever. It's been around for a while. Definitely multiple cycles, higher lows, higher highs overall. In a consolidation phase for multiple cycles, just like Litecoin. I think it's going to break out of its consolidation phase and break out to new all-time highs this cycle, just like Litecoin. So I would definitely equate GXLM to LTCN. Does GXLM, which one actually has a higher market cap? Right? Because where are you? XRP's right there. Litecoin's there. Is XLM lower? Yeah, it is lower. Okay. Maybe Stellar has a better chance of doing gains or of having more gains than Litecoin. 5.2 billion versus did I pass it? I did pass it, yeah. 2.8, yeah, I don't know. Maybe GXLM does have a better chance than LTCN as far as growth goes. But anyways, guys, I'm just rambling at this point. I think I've said everything I need to say. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.